what do I talk to you about? I'm gonna run through a few slides with you. I'm a storyteller. That's what my wife, I say I'm a storyteller. She calls me a BSer. I'll let you decide. But what I thought we could do is maybe share a little bit as we wrap this up. This great conclave of yours is maybe why do we serve? I want you to think about that as you leave and go back to your college campuses. Head back to the rest of your spring break if you get any. And those, I want the seniors to raise your hand. Where are my soon-to-be commissioned officers? Stand up for a minute. I want to see you. Okay, I'm talking to you tonight. Okay, where are the juniors who are going to step up and run the cadet wing? Stand up. I want to see you. As you get ready to enter our Air Force. I guess before I do that though, any OU Sooner fans in the crowd? Okay, how about any Villanova fans? Any Villanova fans? Any Tar Heels out there? I guess that would come from a Dookie, wouldn't it? How about, what's the last team? Syracuse. The Orange Men, where are they? What happened, Virginia? What the hell happened, man? Okay, but last question. Are there any reigning world champion Denver Bronco fans out there? Hey, brag while you can, okay? Because they don't have a quarterback next year, so we're in team trouble, but I'm going to rub it in while I can. Why do we serve? And then maybe what I thought is give you a guy's perspective from 40 years of service, of maybe some helpful hints as you get ready to embark on your great journey in the United States Air Force. How's that sound? Next slide. You serve because it's noble, okay? It's a noble profession. And your United States Air Force takes care of those guys, all right? I don't know where that picture was taken. I don't know exactly when, but it was somewhere in Iraq a few years ago. And they're not dead, by the way, they're sleeping. They're sleeping or reading or writing. I think they're writing a note if you look down the line at some. I'm old-fashioned and romantic at heart. I think they're writing a note to their sweetie. Okay? And they were on a long road march, and their E6 staff sergeant in the Army said, let's pull over and get a little rack time. Okay? I've been on the battlefield and I've never seen the enemy just lay down in the middle of the battlefield during the middle of the day. But this E6 staff sergeant in the Army knew something. What do you think he knew? He knew he had air power over the top. And everything that brings. And that's about the profession you're about to join. It's noble. Okay? It saves lives. Don't forget it. Next. But when required, it takes lives. And you're entering into a time in this world of ours where there's bad actors. There are people and lead nations who have ill will towards the United States. You fundamentally got to believe that. I don't think you have to look very hard or turn on the news and pay much attention not to walk away with that realization. This is the military you're entering into, a nation at war, an Air Force at war. It's serious business. It wasn't like that when I came in 1979. So whatever you've been doing the last 4 or 5 years in college, seniors, the game's about to end. Okay? It isn't a game anymore. And men and women are dependent on it. Okay, next. I want to tell the story. Well, we'll run it out, then I'll tell the sheepdog story because a friend of mine's in the audience.
It should be a great personal satisfaction to every member of the Air Force. The power of this global strike force is recognized by every nation in the world. The present strategic capability of the Air Force was not built during the daylight hours of a 5-day week, no, by the minds and hands of weak men. On the contrary, every milestone rests on self-sacrifice, on the work of men who, to do their job, refuse to acknowledge existing limitations or 8 to 5 working hours. I'm confident the challenges of the future will be met as they have been met in the past.
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction.
When the commander of Air Mobility Command came over and visited us, and we went on what's called the tactical observation deck. About 10 o'clock at night, we watched firepower, air power take off. It's pretty cool at night when afterburners light up. And he told me a story that I'd never heard before. He talked about there are 3 types of people, and they're like 3 animals. The first type of people we have are sheep. You know, they're pretty innocent. They don't want to hurt folks. They're followers. They graze a lot. Okay? But they need protection, and they need protection from the wolves. The wolves, on the other hand, predators. And they like to go after the sheep. And then there are sheepdogs. And the sheepdogs do what? They protect the sheep from the wolves. And he told my men and women, he said, "You're the sheepdogs for our nation." Joe McNabb, I've remembered that. That's what these men and women are about to become, aren't they? So we need you, okay? And ultimately, that's why we serve. Your nation needs you. If not you, then who? Who's going to do it? You're going to make up less than 2%, 1% of the population that's willing to go be sheepdogs. Next. But serving in the Air Force can be hard, gang. And there will be a few tough days. Okay? And I listened to some of you. I know some of you have worked hard this weekend. You've been planning all year for this conclave. And you did a spectacular job. And you put in long hours. Okay? But there are many long hours ahead. A lot of separations, a lot of trials. A lot of people that are counting on you. Are you ready? You got to put all those tools to use that you've learned over the last, now 1, 2, 3, 4 years that you've been going to school. That guy in the middle is Lebanon Chavez. I met him when he was 21 years old. He was from Hampton, Virginia. Cool guy. He was a defender. Okay? And he was assigned to the 820th Security Forces Group at Moody Air Force Base. And in 2006, him and about 150 of his teammates, wingmen, got assigned to Camp Liberty, a forward operating base in Camp Victory in Baghdad, Iraq. And their job was to go train the local Iraqis on simple law enforcement. Because in 2006, yeah, the wheels had kind of come off. Okay? And that was pretty good. They were trained to do that. They were called police transition teams. They were good at that. But the difficulty was getting to and from the police stations they had to go and train the Iraqis in. Lee Bernard on October 15th broke wire with about 12 of his teammates in 3 Humvees. And he was the lead gunner on a 50 caliber mount on top of one of the Humvees that day. And as they got about 3 miles outside Camp Liberty, there was a detonated IED in front of them. And being the good defenders that they were, they stopped and they cordoned off the area. They wanted to preserve the evidence for forensics so we could maybe roll up those bad guys who planned those IEDs. They also wanted to keep innocents from coming inside the cordoned area. And Lee Bernard was on top of that turret of his, and he was shooing away a young Iraqi child. And he leaned forward and he said, you know, in a very firm, gruff voice, go away, get away. And when he did that, a sniper shot him in the back of the head. We attended his memorial service about 24 hours later. I flew down on an H-60 from Balad, 30 miles north. Did the memorial service, went back to my hooch that night, and said I'd like to call his mom. And gang, I don't remember the conversation. It was 9 years ago. Sorry, time gets away from me. But I remember how it ended. We chatted for 15 or 20 minutes, and I knew my time had expired and I needed to let this grieving lady mother go. But before I did, she said, General Rand, would you do me a favor? I said, ma'am, I will if I can. She said, oh, it's a simple favor. Tell your airmen I'm praying for them. So you're my airman. Mrs. Chavez is praying for you, okay? Make sure you're ready to lead during the tough times. Next. Why do it? Why are you 1 or 2 of the tough percent who will do this? I don't know, there's sharks out there, aren't they? Next. Because it matters. It's that simple. It matters. Next slide. I want to show you, give you maybe just a few nuggets. Take it for what it's worth. You've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of mentors this week, heard from a lot of great people. You've been trained by your cadre, okay? So I'll just impart a few thoughts for you. Take it for what it's worth. I'm not better than you. I don't know more than you. I've just been knocked on my butt a few more times. So here's some things I've learned over the last few years. Let it rip. Next slide. Know your mission. Okay, your airmen need you to know what it is that they're supposed to do. Know it, articulate it, be proud of it, and make sure they understand how they fit in to this arm called air power. We got a cool mission in Air Force Global Strike. But the Air Force as a whole has an unbelievable mission. Imagine our nation without air power. Imagine it. Next. You need to support your chain. We've wandered away from that a little bit, in my opinion. You got a lot of avenues today that we didn't have when I was your age. I don't care if it's called social media, IG complaints, a lot of anonymous things, but you know what your airmen need to know is they need to believe in you and they need to believe in their leaders. And when you do things that undermine good order and discipline, you create doubt in my tech sergeant's mind. And he starts to half-step. And when he half steps, bad things happen to the mission. If you got issues with your chain of command and with me, have the courage to come and talk to me and tell me to my face. And we will have a good discussion. And you might change my mind. But put your name on the mailbox and look me in the eye when you do it. That man deserves it. You will not know how fortunate you've been to go to ROTC under the leadership of General Mark Welsh, our Chief of Staff. Maintain and enforce standards. The little ones and the big ones, they're all the same. Not much keeps you up at night. But let me tell you what I've learned is those that willfully not comply with standards, bad things happen. The mission is degraded and people die. Trust me when I tell you that. Next. While you're maintaining standards, though, you're not perfect. The three most powerful words in the English language for officers to learn is I am sorry. Can you say that? It's hard, by the way. You got to put your egos aside and admit when you made a mistake. Now, I don't want you to make many mistakes. But when you do, own it. Check that picture out. How many are around me? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 7 of the meanest, nastiest guys in the Air Force right there are military training instructors. I asked them a couple of years ago, hey guys, would you mind if I had my picture taken with you? I want it for my scrapbook. And they said, sir, we'd be honored, but not until you fix your hat. Now, I was half tempted to say, do you know who I am? Do you know that I'm your commander? I had a choice to make. I could kind of go, well, you got me. That's the world-famous fighter pilot crush that I've been wearing for, up to that time, 34 years, man. Sir, fix your hat. Took some courage by those guys, didn't it? Guess how I wear my hat from now on. I don't care how you all wear your hat, I'm telling you how I wear my hat. Our future's in good hands. But you know what? It was my job on that day to do what with that young lieutenant? Lead him like it's your job to go lead your next. Like she does. That's Kate Lowe. I think the most inspirational leadership I ever got. Again, another lieutenant. Katie Lowe was a maintenance officer at Luke Air Force Base. F-16s. I deployed to Iraq and I needed a protocol officer. You say, well, what's the big deal? Well, Blot in 2006, 2007, I had a lot of high rollers like General McNabb coming through. And the Secretary of Defense and all these important people wanted to come visit us, help us. And I needed to get a protocol officer. And they said, I got a phone call from Kate Lowe, squadron commander. Walt Lindsley, he's now a one-star, works in Warner Robins. He said, sir, I got the perfect person for you to be your protocol. Kate Lowe. You remember Kate, don't you, sir? She worked for you at Luke. I said, of course I remember her, but there's no way I'm bringing a lieutenant to be my protocol officer. He goes, why? I go, she can't handle that. I need someone with more experience. And I go, and by the way, what would a maintenance officer want to come over to be in charge of protocol for? And here's what he told me. Sir, she wants to get into the fight. She just wants to get into the fight. What do you think I did? I folded like a cheap suit, man. Okay, you can come over. So we're over there. She's doing okay. 2 weeks into her tour, we smack an F-16 in the ground. We lose a pilot. We unfortunately have to relieve a maintenance officer and a maintenance chief for buffoonery. My maintenance group commander is running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And he can't get a replacement because we just fired his senior maintenance officer. And in combat, you don't get people over fast. You're stuck with what you got. And I said to him, I go, TJ, do you know that Lieutenant Lowe, Chief of Protocol, is an F-16 maintenance officer? He goes, no, sir, I didn't know that. I go, well, she is. Could you use her to backfill until you get a replacement? He goes, oh my God, sir, you're an answer to prayers. Could I ever? I go, here's the deal, you got her for 2 weeks. I get her back. I get her back in 2 weeks. You think I ever saw her again? No. Let me tell you, gang. 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet Kate Lowe walked into a fractured, broken unit, suffering, failing in combat. And I watched this 110 pound soaking wet first lieutenant take an entire organization and say, get on top of my back. I'm gonna carry you. And it was the most courageous leadership that I've seen in my 37 years in the United States Air Force. There she was when I saw her last year. She's a major now. She's a mama of 3. She's a reservist. In the spare time, she does some pretty cool stuff in industry. Her husband's a state trooper in Massachusetts. What do you think? Still paying it forward. And that's the Air Force you're coming in, gang. Okay? You gotta lead from the front. Next. You gotta learn to live, if you haven't, by our core values. Those are some pretty powerful words. I know they taught you those day 1 at ROTC, didn't they? Are they just words to you? Right there, man, that's your Bible. That's all we need. That's the solution to every ail that we have in the Air Force right there. Okay? Next. When you live by those core values, you'll learn to make sure you treat people with dignity, respect, and honor diversity that our great Air Force has. And you got to own that. You as officers have to own that. Those young ladies deserve that. See, they don't have to back up to the bank for anyone. That's Kimberly Ann Cristomo from Guam. Great young lady. Dad died when she was 12. Came to the United States and her family started over. Next to her is Senior Master Sergeant now, Tessa Fontaine. Tessa is my secret weapon. Okay? Defender, 3 tours in combat, military training instructor now. That's your battle buddies. Those are your wingmen. You better treat them with dignity and respect. They're going to treat you that way. You hear me? Next. It's who we are. I think maybe you saw this, but Maggie told me I could show it to you again. Play this. If you haven't seen this, watch this, pay attention.
We never stopped being airmen. Never. We died in battle. We separated, retired. We died of old age. But we never stopped. Not for a second. Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. Back then, those core values weren't written down anywhere. Back then, we were still young and full of ourselves. But we knew what was expected of us. We were given orders. We were told what it means to be airmen. But they were just words. They still felt like rules. We didn't feel it. Not yet. Integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. Your first couple of years, you learn the core values. The rest of your life, you live them. The person you were is gone. The person you are is an airman. You're already better than you were. It is your privilege to serve this country to the best of your abilities. It is your duty to serve beyond those abilities. What kind of airman do you want to be? What kind of airman does your country deserve? Every day is a test of character. We can fall or we can fly. Excellence is not perfection. Integrity is not sainthood. And selflessness doesn't mean you don't matter. Some people believe in setting goals for themselves they know they can reach. When your job is to do the impossible, you have to set your goals a little higher. Never give up. Never slow down. Never look below the horizon. You will grow old and you will die, but you will never stop being an airman. Aim high, airman.
The Arnold Air Society has a rich heritage. Who started that? The father of our Air Force. Where did Silver Wings come from? Angel flight, you know that? Here's what I learned, gang. When I was a younger commander, I used to get people in front of the room, and sometimes when you need to put the wood to them, right? I'd stand up there and tell them what they shouldn't do. I'd kind of browbeat them, I'd probably scold them. And then one day I kind of had an epiphany, a little late in my life. I wish I'd learned it earlier. And I said, maybe instead of telling airmen what they shouldn't do, we should tell them what they should do. Maybe we should show them what right looks like. Maybe we should inspire them. Inspire them to do the right thing. It's a theory I have. And if that's true, then we can rely on our rich heritage to use that as a tool to inspire airmen. See, your history, our rich history, will make you smarter, but heritage will make you prouder. How much do you know about your Air Force? Huh? It's not a strength of ours, gang. You ask a Marine who chesty puller is and they can stand up and rattle it off, man. You ask an airman who Robbie Reiser is and half of them will give you a very quizzical stare. How many of you know the story of the Tuskegee Airmen? Who knows what Benjamin O. Davis Jr. went through? Who knows how long Curtis LeMay was the commander of Strategic Air Command? Give you a hint. He was a 4-star for 16 years in his career game. Wow. I feel old and I haven't hit 3 years yet. You know, I told you how old Al Flowers was. That's Dorothy Rowe in the lower left. Al knows her because she was a comptroller. Folks, this young lady joined the Air Force when she was 18 as a civilian. She served it for 70 straight years. She died 6 months after she retired. I saw her the morning that she died. She was 88. And when she retired, he killed her. That's our heritage. You don't even know who Dorothy Rowe is. How many know who Tech Sergeant Foster was? And what he did? I'll give you a hint. He was a gunner on B-17, and he's one of our 7 enlisted Medal of Honor winners. We should probably know what he did. What do you think? And who knows about Gracie Peterson? Anyone? First female Chief Master Sergeant. United States Air Force. Wow. And what about that plane on the left? What's that a picture of? Next slide. There's the co-pilot. Lieutenant Colonel retired Dick Cole. Lives about 4 hours south of here. He turned 100 in September. He's got Jerry Yellen beat by a few years, man. Dick Cole drives a Ford F-150, by the way, still. I think they should put notice to airmen when he's on the road, okay? And that is a glass of Hennessy in his hand, by the way. But do you know the story behind Hennessy? Okay, so here's what I need you to do, as we're kind of down to the final stretch. Listen better. Your airmen want to be heard. See, you've been talked out a lot the last 4 years, haven't you? All your commanders talk to you. You don't think they listen. Be better. That little guy is Eli. He's 11 now. He's my grandson. He's a good-looking little boy. Like his granddaddy. That picture was taken on Thanksgiving in 2006. I had waited all day to make a phone call. It was late at night. And I'd wait all day to get through to my family. Everyone who mattered the most to me, my spouse, Kim, my daughter, my son-in-law, and my grandson, Eli. And I called, I got right through from my hooch. And I said, hey, baby, and she handed the phone to Eli. And I taught him how to salute. He used the wrong hand, but he's okay other than that. And I said, hi, Eli, I love you. He goes, I love you too, Mama. I said, happy Thanksgiving. He goes, happy Thanksgiving, Mama. Click, and he hung up on me. And I didn't get through. That was it. That young boy needed to learn to listen better. But he was too. He has an excuse. What's our excuse? See those airmen next to you? They want to be heard. And your job is to listen and communicate and share and mentor and coach. I can't overstate how important that is, folks. Next. You know why you gotta listen? So you can learn about them. So you can tell their stories. Like Dominic Luca from South Sudan, who lost his family when he was 15. Came to the United States because he said, I owe everything I have in this world to the United States. BMT ran his 1.5 miles in 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Can you run it that fast? Like T.J. Brantley, an EOD specialist, who saved the life of his Army lieutenant in Afghanistan in a 10.5-hour firefight. Like Monica from Albuquerque, whose son committed suicide. She picked herself up from the ashes, and now she gives everything she has to help families and airmen in need. And like Ashley Ann, the bottom picture. 4 tours in combat, enlisted defender, gets her commission, and now is leading our airmen in the missile fields of North Dakota. And she too is about 110 pounds soaking wet. Look at the ribbons on her chest. What do you think, gang? You're going to join her Air Force. And she's going to kick your butt, man. Next. And like their stories. Like Savannah. Savannah, the Auburn Tiger. Savannah, who's graduating here in a couple of months. You hear, Savannah? There she is. Wow. I'm proud of you, young lady. Terrible, terrible, terrible car accident. Her senior year in high school. Terrible fracture of her pelvis. She had an epiphany. She said, I want to join the Air Force. She got an ROTC scholarship, and after 4 months in a wheelchair, she went and ran a mile and a half and kicked butt. And now we're stuck with it. What do you think, man? And Joseph, a Baylor Bear. Joseph's mom's going through some really, really tough times. But she's committed to make sure she is there when he walks across that stage and gets commissioned. Real darn. See you here, Joseph? Right on, Joseph. Welcome to our Air Force. I don't think Sadie's here, but Sadie's at Embry-Riddle. She's a Silver Wing. She too was in a bad, bad fall when she was a young teenager. And it got worse over the years. She was almost crippled. But she fought through. She was this close to getting enlisted in our Air Force. And at the very last minute, they said, no, you can't come in. She said, I had no plan B. Plan B was to go to Embry-Riddle. She wanted to be an aircraft maintainer. She's about to get commissioned. She's got more degrees and more licenses and more stuff going on in her life. And she's a survivor. And when I want to meet Sadie, that's a pretty cool picture, by the way, isn't it? And there's Michael. Michael goes to a little college in Utah. You hear Michael?
Couldn't make it tonight, sir.
Michael is a cancer survivor. Okay? Cancer survivor. He wants to join you as an OSI agent. I have half a feeling he's going to make it. Aaron Nika. Where's my wing commander from Valdosta State? Are you here, Aaron Nika? Couldn't make it. She blew me off. Aaron Nika. Parents were incarcerated. Bounced around foster homes, and her grandparents finally took her in, her and her family. Picked herself up by the bootstraps. Going to graduate with honors. The Air Force is going to put her through law school. She's going to come back and be one of our lawyers, one of our JAGs. What do you think? Is that pretty cool?